Judging the timer, ready?
Oh, yeah.
We were young, we were in love, we were rollicking in those sublime early days of marriage when life seems just about as good as life can get. And so, on a January evening in 1991, my wife and I headed off to answer an ad in the Palm Beach Post. Why we were doing this, I wasn't quite sure. A few weeks earlier, I found Jenny on the porch, standing over the newspaper with a pen in her hand. When I stepped closer, I saw she was fervently circling beneath the heading, Pets. Dogs. Is there something I should know? It's the plant. The one we killed. For the record, it was the plant that I had bought and she killed. She had adored both the gesture and the plant. Then she promptly went to kill my gift with an assassin's cold-hearted efficiency. Not that she was trying to. If anything, she nurtured the poor thing to death. Then she got to the real issue. If I can't even keep a plant alive, how am I going to keep a baby alive? We thought maybe a dog would be good practice. John and Jenny are in the early stages of marriage and wondering if a baby is right for them. They seek guidance and training through their new dog, Marley. In the end, Marley teaches them more about life and love than they could have ever thought possible. Marley and Me by John Grogan. For the next 3 days, I threw myself with abandon into our new puppy. Marley was young and wired, with the attention span of algae and the volatility of nitroglycerin. I used an old hand towel to play tug-of-war with him, and was surprised at how strong he already was. He followed me everywhere, gnawing on anything he could get his teeth around. Within a couple of days, we had a hard time remembering what life had been like without Marley. Quickly, we fell into a routine. I started each morning by taking Marley for a quick stroll down to the waterfront. Stroll is probably the wrong word. Marley strolled like a locomotive strolls. He veered left and right, sniffing, panting, and peeing without fully stopping. He circled behind my legs, wrapping the leash around my ankles before lurching forward again. When someone approached with another dog, Marley would bolt at them joyously, dying to make friends. "He sure seems to love life," one dog owner commented. And that about said it all. When Marley was not quite 6 months old, we signed him up for obedience training. At registration, we met the woman who would be teaching the class. She was a stern, no-nonsense dog trainer who subscribed to the theory that there are no incorrigible dogs, just weak-willed and hapless owners. The first lesson was walking on heel, one I was especially keen on mastering. The instructor handed each of us a short length of chain with a steel ring welded to each end. "These are choker collars and will be your secret weapon in teaching your dogs how to heel effortlessly at your sides." It didn't take long for the dogs to learn to submit or die of asphyxia. I started to slip the collar over Marley's head. He grabbed it. I pried his jaws open and tried again. He grabbed it again. He likes it. As instructed, I got the chain out of Marley's mouth. Then, as instructed, I pushed his butt into the sit position. Then, I was to step off with my left, never my right foot. "Class, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3! As soon as I took my first step, Marley took off like a fighter jet. I yanked back hard on the leash, and he lunged forward again. We continued like this for the entire length of the block. "Rein that dog in!" When the lesson was over, the instructor asked if I could stay for a minute. "I think your dog is a little bit young for structured obedience training." "Are you trying to tell me he's just not ready for this, he's just too excitable, kicking us out of class?" "Yes, I'm kicking you out of class." Marley, as if on cue, let loose a raging stream of urine, which missed his beloved instructor's feet by mere centimeters. For her birthday, I bought Jenny an 18-karat gold necklace, a delicate chain with a tiny clasp, and she immediately put it on. But a few hours later, she put her hands to her throat. "My necklace, it's gone!" We began scouring the house, room by room. "What's that hanging out of Marley's mouth?" It was thin and delicate, and gold. We froze. Immediately, we began to circle him from opposite directions. "Easy, Marley. Drop the chain and no one gets hurt. His whole body began to wag, but before we could make our move, Marley threw his head back and the end of the chain disappeared. I lunged at him. I pried his jaws open and shoved my whole hand down his throat. But it was no use. He swallowed it. Jenny began to scream, "Cough it up!" The best she got out of him was a loud, satisfied burp. Over the years, we became philosophical about the damage. In a dog's life, some plaster would fall, some cushions would open, some rugs would shred. Like any relationship, this one had its costs. There were costs we came to accept and balance against the joy and amusement and companionship he gave us. As we watched him grow gray and deaf and creaky, there was no ignoring Marley's mortality, or ours. Age sneaks up on us all, but it sneaks up on a dog with a swiftness that is both breathtaking and sobering. In the brief span of 12 years, Marley had gone from a bubbly puppy to an awkward adolescent to a muscular adult to a doddering senior citizen. In 12 years, I hadn't been able to walk into the house without him bounding to his feet, banging his tail into everything. Not on this day. His eyes followed me as I walked into the room, but he didn't lift his head. I knelt down and rubbed his snout. No reaction. His eyes seemed far away, and his tail lay limp on the floor. That's when I noticed his stomach. It looked bigger than usual, and it was hard to the touch. With Jenny's help, I got him into the back of my car, and we drove off. The doctor discussed the complications with operating on a dog of Marley's age. Could I have a couple minutes alone with him? I found him lying on a stretcher. I ran my fingers through his fur, the way he liked. I lifted each floppy ear in my hands. Those crazy ears. And I put my forehead to his and lay there for a long time. There was something I had never told him. Something no one had ever told him. I needed him to hear it before he went. Marley, you are a great dog. He was already deeply asleep when the end came. There was no panic, no trauma, no pain. Marley had earned his place in our family. Like a quirky but beloved uncle, he was what he was. He would never be Lassie or Benji or Old Yeller. We knew that now. We accepted him for the dog that he was, and we loved him all the more for it.